absolute most dramatic trajectories in all of modern sports. The player who had it all and then lost it all. We're going to unpack the wild story of how the most valuable teenager on the planet saw his entire career practically vanish in the blink of an eye. So let's jump right in.
All right, Section 1, the ultimate football prodigy.
To really grasp the sheer depths of this downfall, we first have to understand the hype. And I mean deafening hype. He wasn't just a great prospect, he was heavily projected to be the absolute greatest of his generation. People were literally calling him the next Messi or Ronaldo. Think about the incredible gravity of those names for a second. From his very first professional touches, he was carrying the heavy weight of massive comparisons to football's undeniable legends. Imagine having to carry that kind of expectation on your shoulders every single time you lace up your boots.
To put that into perspective, at just 19 years old, he was already carrying the crushing expectation of being the most valuable teenager in the entire world. I mean, think about what you were doing at 19, right? This kid had global sports brands, billionaire club owners, and literally millions of fervent fans hanging on to his every single move. His youth, combined with that sheer raw potential, made him a completely unprecedented asset in the world. It was a real game changer.
Moving on to Section 2, reaching the peak. So for a brief, glorious moment, he actually lived up to that impossible hype. On the pitch, it wasn't just his blistering speed that tore defenses apart. It was this elite, almost telepathic vision. He could spot passing lanes that seasoned veterans couldn't even dream of. And off the pitch, well, that translated directly into multi-million-dollar contracts, prime sponsorships, and immediate household name status. He was reaping life-changing rewards before he even hit his 20s, the whole shebang.
His breakout season completely dwarfed the competition. Whether you're measuring goals, assists, or key chances created, his value was just light years ahead of grown men who had been playing top-flight football for a decade. During this peak period, he wasn't just participating in the sport, he was actively rewriting the standard for excellence.
Which brings us to Section 3, the turning point.
Let's walk through the exact anatomy of this disaster. It all starts with the incident. Whether it was a devastating career-altering injury, a controversial red card in a massive knockout match, or a scandalous off-field headline, this single moment was the catalyst. But it didn't stop there. That catalyst cascaded directly into suffocating media pressure. The very same newspapers and pundits that crowned him a king suddenly turned on him, magnifying every minor mistake 1,000 times over. And that leads to a fundamental psychological shift. This wasn't just a physical setback or a PR crisis anymore. It fundamentally broke something inside him. The pure joy of the game just vanished, replaced practically overnight by anxiety, hesitation, and self-doubt.
Section 4, the downward spiral.
Once that psychological shift occurred, man, the descent was brutal and compounding. The elements of this spiral actively fed into one another, like a vicious cycle. First, you had the unhealed injuries. Pushed way too hard and too fast in his teenage years, his body began to systematically betray him, sapping away that trademark speed. That physical decline directly shattered his confidence. The exact same player who used to take on 3 elite defenders effortlessly was now terrified to make a simple forward pass. And finally, the booing fans. The very same tens of thousands of people who used to chant his name began to mercilessly jeer his every single touch.
It became a deeply lonely picture. Empty training grounds, riding the bench, and just sheer frustration. The glitz, the glamour, the multi-million-dollar ad campaigns, they all faded away. He found himself so far removed from the spotlight, staying late on empty training pitches, trying to find a spark that was sadly simply gone. Week after week, he was relegated to the sidelines, forced to watch from the bench as a mere shadow of the generational talent he was supposed to be.
Finally, Section 5, bust or bad luck. Let's take a philosophical step back here for a second. This isn't just a sad story about one particular player. It's a harsh mirror reflecting the unforgiving realities of professional sports. It is the very definition of fleeting success. It's a brutal reminder of how quickly achievements, fame, and form can vanish in professional football. What you should really take away from this is how incredibly fragile athletic stardom actually is. One day you're the next global icon with the entire world at your feet, and the very next, you're a cautionary tale. The margins between sporting immortality and complete obscurity are terrifyingly thin.
And that brings us to our final question. Was he a bust, or simply a victim of terribly bad luck? I'm turning the jury duties over to you now. Was this a case of a young man making poor choices, failing to adapt, and just crumbling under the pressure, like a personal failure? Or was it just tragic misfortune? You know, a young body breaking down at the exact wrong time while a ruthless media machine tore into pieces. Seriously, think about how much control any of us truly have over our own trajectories when the stakes are that high. Ponder that as we wrap up today's explainer, and I really look forward to seeing where you land on this fascinating debate.